Today, we're going to be looking at how powerful banned cards are in 2025. And we're going to start off with, Amped Raptor over here. Let's get some little music here. 2 mana, 2/1 dinosaur, first strike. When Amped Raptor enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Does that scare anybody? Then if you cast it from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. Now, this is interesting. This is the most freshly banned card in Modern. It was banned as of, I think, somewhere in December. And it was a huge part of the Boros Energy deck. Or maybe it's not the most freshly. It's a somewhat recent banned card. It was a huge piece of the Boros Energy deck, and they actually very specifically said that they wanted to ban this card over Guide of Souls. Let's see if we can get Guide of Souls here. Because these are the energy producers. These guys produce a lot of energy. When a creature enters the battlefield, you get an energy and you gain a life. But they didn't want to touch Guide of Souls, because maybe that could be played in other decks, like Humans or Soul Sisters or something, which actually wasn't true at all. That didn't come to fruition in the slightest. In the end, only one deck plays Guide of Souls and its energy. Same thing with Amped Raptor at the time. Now, is it too powerful for Modern? Well, I mean, you could argue unbanning Amped Raptor to ban Guide of Souls, but to be honest, probably both of them are just a smidge too good for the format. It just, as a conglomerate, you know, they made the Modern Horizons 3. What do they call it? The Modern Horizons 3 block constructed deck. Amped Raptor, Guide of Souls, and to make your beautiful energy deck go energy. Raptor died for the Oscillate Pride sins. Well, you could say, I mean, this is the problem. Oscillate Pride, Guide of Souls, Flage. You know, there's a lot of cards in this Boros Energy deck that are incredibly powerful. You can almost name any single card in that deck and say it's worthy of getting banned. But they gotta ban something, and maybe it's just a matter of density. It's possible you ban the Oscillate Pride and unban Amped Raptor, and it's still just as powerful. No kidding. I mean, these are very, very strong, and they just have a good threat density of incredibly powerful cards. I mean, this is literally 2 mana Cascade. Also, you don't even need to play the Cascade part. I mean, you can just be like revealing cards to hit a card, and then to be like, I don't want to cast that card. I'm going to keep the energy. So you boost up your galvanic discharges and so on. Amped Raptor is only uncommon. It is an uncommon. Don't underestimate those uncommons, though, all right? This is a Modern Horizons 3 uncommon, I'll have you know. And for that, it's an extra powerful. Welcome, Matthew. Welcome to the show. So Amped Raptor, I think you could argue it both ways. I would lean to say that if you unban this card, it is still too powerful in the Boros Energy deck, and that they just need to get their density of powerful energy cards down. We need them down so that cards like Galvanic Discharge and that enchantment that exiles all cards is kept more under control. Subject says, not really keeping up with the Modern Magic, but love me some Nikachu content. Played most recently in the earlier sets to about the first Eldrazi set and then spotty until Return to Ravnica. New cards are wacky. I guess you should stick to like Legacy pre-Modern, but you probably have a few Modern cards up your sleeves. I mean, Pride is mythic, Guide is rare, Amped. Why do they keep saying why do they keep people saying Armed? Armaded is uncommon. Seems like a safer choice to ban. You know what? I don't like that mentality. I think you should ban things based on power level. I understand that the mythics are way more. Okay, I get it. Like mythics have plot armor, so if we get Oscillate Pride, it's a mythic card. It's got plot armor. You know that this thing was broken though, because they actually adjusted it on Arena. You know they screwed up when they make a different version specifically for Arena, because they can adapt the cards digitally. So you have First Strike, Lifelink, Ascend. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Then if you have the City's Blessing, for each token you control that entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. What is different? First Strike, Lifelink, Ascend. Beginning of your end step. I actually can't tell the difference. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, Create a 1/1 white cat creature token. That if you have the city's blessing, for each token you control that entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. Did they buff it up? Oh, sorry, it's 2 mana here. Okay, I think they slightly buffed it up, but they they had a whole mana cost. Yeah, I know. Oh man, I was like, what is going on here? This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Nola's like, can we ban islands now? Not yet. Maybe one day. Thank you very much for your super chat, Nola. I really appreciate it. We're doing it alphabetically. All right. And anyway, I think this card probably should still be banned. If it comes off the ban list, you gotta ban Guide of Souls. You have to at least make that trade, if not more. Because I mean, at its height, this deck was the most. It's still at like 70 to 20% of the metagame, the most powerful aggro deck ever in Modern, ever. And Amped Raptor made it even. Consider, remember, you could play Amped Raptor into an Oscillate Pride, into a Guide of Souls, into a Johnny, and so on. Super powerful card. Okay, next up, Ancient Den. This is an absolute laughingstock. Why? This is banned. Believe it or not. Commander players will be like, what? Yeah, I know what. It makes 0 sense. It made 0 sense 10 years ago. It makes even less sense even right now. Some people say like, oh, you can unban Ancient Den, but make sure like the blue one is banned because the blue decks can like abuse it more than the other colors. And I also find it really weird. There is this contingent out there that's like, Mox Opal is fine. And this is really screwed up. They're like, Mox Opal is a fair card, but the artifact lands, those are broken. You can never unban those cards. Anyway, I think you can unban all of these cards. And I've like tooted this horn for close to a decade now. Yeah, it's only for, well, it may not be just for affinity. Maybe some other decks can utilize it by sacrificing artifacts. But the artifact lands, they're weak. They're very weak, and they're also very vulnerable. Like, what are you going to do versus, like, Collector Oof? Like, you're stone cold screwed versus this card. So you get more vulnerable versus artifact hate, like Collector Oof. Also, Karn the Great Creator? Karn the Great Creator going to screw you up because activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. And guess what? Your lands count. Your lands count. Not to mention, if you look at any deck with artifacts, they are loaded with utility lands, all right? They're playing with, like, Inkmoth Nexus. They might be playing with Inkmoth Nexus, Blinkmoth Nexus, Urza's Saga, Glimmer Void. They're playing with a lot of different lands that they need to have them in their deck. So this is going to replace, like, very few lands. I think it would make a very minute, if not, like, a really negligible a change to Modern if they unban them, and they've really never given a good explanation for this. Why? It's simple to tap to add one. Well, the fear, because it has artifact, that it will help ramp out things like, I don't even know the things they can go get anymore. Okay, well, it has in theory a synergy with like cranial plating. It has, in theory, because it gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. It has a synergy with Arcbound Ravager. So you can sack all your lands as artifacts, put +1/+1 counters on the Ravager, and then go all in. It has synergy. Like, there's a lot of artifact-based cards that have synergy with this. Not to mention there is the affinity mechanic. So you can take something like Thought Monitor, for example. That's why they, like, some people have some reservations about the blue one. The blue one has, you could ramp out Thought Monitor easily. Emery gets easier to cast if the blue one exists. I think it's like, it takes one blue. What is it? I don't even remember what the blue one is called, but you play one blue artifact land, one like Mishra's Bauble, and boom, you can play Emery because it costs one less to cast for each artifact you control. So for that reason, some people have some reservations about the blue one. I don't even care. Just let it go. Let it go. Let's be free. 100%. Noah's like, ban Karn because you can two-turn shut players out with Mikos and Lattice. Well, that card is actually banned in Modern. We'll get to that one. And it's your choice, Nola. Do you want to ban Mikos Lattice or Karn the Great Creator? That's really the choice here. Because it is Artifact, says William. It is also get blown up by Artifact hate, and I think that is almost more of a downside. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Oh, the Simulacrum synthesizer, which had a little bit of play, but then just completely petered off. Is it Simulacrum synthesizer? Where's the synthesizer? There we go. This card could have had big synergy with the artifact lands. Enters the battlefield, scry 2. Whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact. So, yeah, also has huge synergy with the constructs, which therefore has synergy with Urza, High Lord Artificer, also just Urza's Saga. Totally forgot about all that. So, you know, all these things to buff these cards. But, you know, artifact decks aren't doing that great. Like, even with Mox Opal right now, I'm the most paranoid about Mox Opal being played in a combo deck. But, like, I don't think any combo deck can make use of these lands. I think if there's any fair deck, only fair decks could play this card. And also, fair decks don't even want to play too many of them. I think if you play too many, you're just asking to lose the game. So I actually think these are fine. I've been on that train for an eternity, and until people can properly explain why they're broken, because they're certainly not broken in Legacy. And I mean, they have their moments in Pauper, but like they're pretty okay there as well. As it seems like all the cards mentioned that work with that white are blue cards. Yeah, most of the blue cards. It would be weird, Kilo the Neko, that we unban all the colors except blue. White, green, black, and red get unbanned, but you know, nothing else. Bring Mox Monkey into Modern and unban the artifact lands. What's Mox Monkey? Mox Monkey into Modern and unban. I don't know what that is. Get Blood Mooned. Actually, it won't work. So the Blood Moon will turn the lands into mountains, but they'll be artifact mountains. Just let you know. It won't remove the artifact type. They will be non-basic artifact mountains. Yeah, let the people have their artifact lands. Yeah, anyway, this is a weird thing. Maybe Wizards of the Coast in the back room play tested this, and they're like, no, this is way too much. This is impossible. We're not gonna happen. Makes no sense to me. Okay, I say this should be free. Arkham's Astrolabe. This is the weirdest, one of the more weirder cards that I would think are just stone cold broken. It's a snow, for 1 snow mana, it's a snow artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and pay 1 tap, add 1 mana of any color. Can anyone believe that this card is actually banned in 3 formats? 3 important formats, mind you. Modern, Legacy, and Pauper. Those are very, very competitive formats. Make snow great again. Snow Poo. This is a Snow Poo card. Meltdown is Modern legal now. Yeah, but the problem is you draw a card off of this. And that was the big deal. There's actually, I can't remember what it's called. There's another card that's identical to this, but it doesn't draw a card. Because this thing draws a card, you're up. So if I play Arkham's Astrolabe, I draw a card, and you play Meltdown, well, you're losing, because I at least exchanged my Arkham's Astrolabe for something else, and you played your Meltdown, and you're just down. Yeah, I mean, between fixing artifact decks, it also fixed mana. So this was a surprising upside to these Arkham's Astrolabe decks, which were generally 3 to 4 colors. They could just fetch out basics and not have any liability to non-basic land hate. So, like, you know, if you just fetch out, you know, snow basic plains, snow basic island, snow basic forest, you can't get hit by, like, Blood Moon, for example. Blood Moon doesn't affect you. What else doesn't affect you? I mean, Blood Moon is the main one. Harbinger of the Seas wouldn't affect you by today's standards. And those are, so, like, what I'm saying is the Arkham's Astrolabe decks, they're allowed to be greedy. they could be a little bit on the greedy side in terms of their mana because they don't care. Arkham's Astrolabe was very, very good. Well, Wasteland doesn't exist in Modern, but it did exist in Legacy, and actually, Astrolabe did get banned in Legacy for exactly that reason. The decks could be 3 to 4 colors, and they don't care because they're immune to Wasteland. In Pioneer, it would be more fair because low artifact synergies. Oh, what do you mean the artifact lands? Yeah, Fish Moon. Mox Monkey is slang for the... Oh, yeah, you know what? I totally forgot about that, John. Yeah, the Gorilla Shaman who blows up lands. Is Gorilla Shaman legal in Modern? I want to say no. Oh, it is now! It just came out in Modern Horizons 2. And by just came out, I mean that was like 3 years ago. All right, it's still... So we got the answers. Even more reasons to unban the artifact lands. What else about this card made it strong? It was just weirdly deceptive. Like, if you ban... So there was a time Urza was really good in Modern. And people were like, you gotta ban Urza! Urza's a bad influence on the format! No one can defeat this thing. It enters the battlefield. It makes a construct. It gets a lot of value off of its mana immediately. It's too strong. Ban Urza. And all they had to do is ban Arkham's Astrolabe. And then all of a sudden, Urza sucked. Urza just... Sorry, no. It like shrank in meta percentages. I mean, Borderline disappeared after Arkham's Astrolabe's ban. It needs this card. It needs it for the card draw. It needs it for like the extra mana. It's basically Urza turns Arkham's Astrolabe into Mox Sapphire. Urza has fallen into mediocrity. Oh no, it's worthless now. It's completely worthless. But I would have never guessed that this was the card to do it. But after we've seen the metagame play out with Arkham's Astrolabe, I'm like a believer. Arkham's Astrolabe actually is just too strong for too strong. I mean, it's not even just Modern. We've just seen how it's played out in Legacy, in Pauper. It's the same deal. Same deal over and over again. 1 mana cantrip that theoretically could get blinked, fixes your mana. It's OP. It just ends up being OP. Arkham's Astrolabe should be unbanned. Oh, Will Anderson. Well, you're going to have to convince some people. I think you're going to have to convince a lot of people. I don't know in what world you can make this legal. The downside of having to play a snow mana on turn 1, not much of a downside. No, that's easy. With the fetch lands, not going to happen. All right, let's move on. Oh, this is an interesting one. Birthing Pod. Birthing Pod. Okay, it's 3 mana and a Phyrexian, and it's an artifact. And for 1 mana and a Phyrexian, you can tap it, sack a creature, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. This is controversial. Now, it got banned a long time ago. I mean, I think it's been a decade now since this card's been banned. This is Forever Broken, rip the card and unprint it. What, Birthing Pod? I mean, here's a good question. Is Birthing Pod broken in Commander? Did people win on the spot with Birthing Pod? Probably not. Now, the reason it was banned is that it either creates so much value with persist creatures or undying creatures, or creatures that can untap Birthing Pod and reuse it multiple times a turn, or it just combos off that turn. There's also a lot of lines where if you let the pod player untap and you don't have any removal, they will just win on the spot. So you basically can't tap out effectively versus a Birthing Pod deck. But you know what? I used to be in the camp of like, yeah, Birthing Pod is too broken because there's like no way to stop the chain. That's when someone tries to combo off. I don't know if that's so true anymore. Like, we have an outrageous number of powerful cards now in Modern that can be played at instant speed and for free. It's like for example, if we look at Legacy, this card doesn't see any play in Legacy. None. Zip. Nada. Now, mind you, the answers are even more powerful in Legacy, like Null Rod and Force of Will. We don't have those cards in Modern. I'm not as clear. It's not as clear to me that Birthing Pod would completely run away with the format. Matthew Green says unbanned pod probably too slow against current meta. Format is too fast, right? Well, the current format is super fast. It is outrageously fast, so that could be true. This combo deck was not the fastest of all combo decks. By the way, this combo deck was strongest when Mana Dorks were legal. And by the way, Mana Dorks are technically legal, but they're terrible by today's standards because they all have 1 toughness, which get chewed up by like Lava Dart, Orcish Bowmasters, Ren and 6, and so on. Breathing Pod just keeps getting stronger as Wizards power creeps creatures to sell new sets. I mean, in theory, but also Birthing Pod gets shut down by a lot of, I think, modern day cards like Solitude. We got Solitude. We have Collector Oof. We have, like, by the way, more artifact hate than ever before. Like, what's it called? Force of Vigor. So, I mean, there's actually a lot of answers to Birthing Pod that we never actually had in the past. Good card, just too slow. It might be. It might be. Like, if you're not playing with Mana Dorks, I mean, I understand you can play with Delighted Halfling, but I don't know if that's going to be nearly as good as you'd want it to be. And, like, let's say Yawgmoth played this. Would Yawgmoth play this? Would they? I don't know. Maybe they would. This and the Dinosaur Rider? That sounds crazy. Yeah, the Allosaurus Rider. And the pod into something ginormous. I don't think they need to do that, though. Okay, all of Word. But the card itself is too slow. And it's great. It gets great stuff and can combo win easily, but comes out and does stuff way too late in Modern. Well, the idea is you do things immediately with it. So you'd play it on the turn that you could activate it on the same turn. You wouldn't just play it out there and do nothing. It might make Utopia Sprawl playable again. But then if you're playing Utopia Sprawl, then you have less creatures to pod away. Because a lot of your pod chain starts with your 1-drop into a 2-drop. Second Sunrise, can eggs come back? Probably not. For tournament reasons, they'll never bring that card back. But you're probably dead before you have the mana to play and activate. Well, depends on the deck. It really depends on the deck. And I also think there's a lot of... Oh, yeah. The question is it better than Soul Cauldron? Oh, I think an even better question, Sleepy Milo, is how well does it perform against Soul Cauldron? Because Soul Cauldron, that exiles cards from the graveyard. Oh, no, hold on. Soul Cauldron. That exiles cards from the graveyard, doesn't it? So you may tap exile target card from a graveyard. Yeah. So as somebody is trying to combo off with Birthing Pod, and very often it requires bringing those creatures back from the graveyard into play, Agatha's Soul Cauldron can exile that creature before it comes back, or the opponent grabs a creature with Birthing Pod that would bring creatures back from the graveyard, like Revelark, for example. I mean, I don't know what the most efficient combo with Pod would be by today, but we have, like, more ways than ever before to interact with it, is just all I'm saying right now. I was going to say, it's not better than Birthing Ritual. That could be the case. We have Birthing Ritual right now, and that's a very, very strong card, especially since you can... I can't remember how it is. You activate it, and then you wait for it to resolve, and then you sack your creature, which means you're guaranteed the value. And that card is pretty cheap, too. Oh, you can go infinite with Pod in Modern? Sort of. Yes, you can. If your opponent does not interact with you whatsoever and everything goes your way, you can Pod can go infinite. Anyway, I think it's interesting. It is I am not clear. I used to be on the never unbanned Pod train. I think we have a lot of tools now, like a lot of tools. And also Mana Dorks are really bad. Really, really bad, which help fuel pod decks. So it's not clear to me that this card is as powerful as it used to be. I think people were a little too excited to unban Birthing Pod a long time ago, but now I could agree. Okay, next up, Blazing Shoal. I mean, okay, it's a red X instant. You may remove a red card with converted mana cost X in your hand from the game rather than pay Blazing Shoal's mana cost. Target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn. This is like a card you probably can unban, but it's not going to do anything good for the format. It'll just add a few more like turn 2 decks in the format, so they'll probably bring Infect back a little bit. because of like you could go turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2 you die with Blazing Shoal. What are they discarding? Well, they can't discard Emrakul because it's got to be a red card. But at the time, people like to discard Progenitus because it was red. This is a red card, and it's very expensive. It's a very expensive red card. It's 10 mana. It means you're going to get 10 plus 0 until end of turn. Because that's what the X is. Yeah, you discard Progenitus for the most part. I don't know. There might be a better card than Progenitus by today's standards. Because I think randomly putting Progenitus in your deck sort of sucks. Maybe not. Maybe Progenitus is actually good because you could like play this with Force of Negation, Subtlety. I mean, pitches to everything, right? You can pitch Progenitus to all the elementals. So maybe it's more playable than I think it is. Yeah, it's like we can unban it, but why? Just for science? Probably not. Is there bigger red card? There might be bigger red cards. Are they more playable? Probably, too. Yeah, if you can play this in a red deck, that'd be great. Maybe this would also go into maybe a prowess deck, too. Well, maybe not. If Inksmoth Nexus gets banned, this can be unbanned. Yeah, I forgot you can like empty this on an Inkmoth Nexus and win in 1 turn as well. Trip says, it might need to stay banned because of Legolas's quick reflexes. Ah, yes. That card is insane in Infect. Legolas quick. Legolas is very quick. It rejuvenated the deck and Legacy to some degree. Still not enough. I mean, like, Infect is still hurting badly because all their creatures are 1 toughness, and there's just so much. It's just... You know, it's not a good environment for 1 toughness creatures in Modern. But anyway, Legolas's quick reflexes is a green split second, all right? You are not interacting with this card. Untap target creature. Until end of turn, it gains hexproof reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. Insane. Insane in Infect. I think this is a very slept-on card, too. I think it's very underrated. No one misses Infect? Well, except for the Infect players. They miss Infect. I sort of miss Infect because I had a pretty good matchup versus them. Would Monstrous Rage just be better if try to add red to Infect? Probably, actually. Yeah, probably. But I think the idea is you play this for free. That's the idea. This is a like free-to-play card. Let's discard Volcanic Salvo and cast the second one. Lego isn't modern legal. I think the idea was like make it modern legal. If it was modern legal, it would bring Infect back. But yeah, it's not legal. So anyway, Blazing Shoal, we'll agree that, you know, this card is probably fair by today's standards, but we don't want to see it. We don't want to see Blazing Shoal at all. You have to go all in to play this type of deck. It's a gambit, and you should be legal to try. We have enough all-in decks as it is. You know, Modern is slowly turning into an all-in format because of the stupid Boros Energy deck, because that's the only thing Boros Energy can't beat, is if you go all in against them. All right, we're going to talk more Modern cards. Maybe you want to speculate on some of them. You know, if maybe Birthing Pod could get unbanned, you can speculate by buying them at FusionGamingOnline.com, today's sponsor. Not only that, speaking of... speaking of Lord of the Rings Legolas cards, Final Fantasy cards can be bought and pre-ordered at FusionGamingOnline.com. Get all your singles ready for your next tournament. And don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu at checkout for 5% off all your purchases. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. And the greatest thing about Mana Traders is you can rent any deck, whether cards have been banned or unbanned. So, I mean, don't be afraid of playing the top deck just because they're going to either ban cards from it or unban cards from unban other cards to make new decks, because you have access to every card when you're renting with Mana Traders. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 40% cash back on your 3rd month subscription using coupon code Nikachu_ZAX. And back to banned cards. Okay, what's next? Next on the list is, oh my god, Bridge from Below. Does anyone feel strongly about this card? I think some, like... I imagine some graveyard-based players are thinking about this one. Black, black, black enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge is in your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. When a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, exile Bridge from Below. So the idea, when they banned this card, it was under the presumption that graveyard decks would get stronger because they were going to be printing more cards to utilize the graveyard. That's partially true. That's when you say died for Hogak sins. You make that sound like Hogak could be legal otherwise. It was partially banned for Hogak sins. Bridge from Below has always been I shouldn't say always. Every so often is a very powerful card in Modern. But those decks usually don't last because, you know, the graveyard-based decks, we've got the tools for them. You know, Grafdigger's Cage, rest in peace. For the most part, we had the tools. It wasn't until Hogak came around, and then all of a sudden, like, we don't have the tools anymore. Can't beat Bridge from Below, can't beat Hogak. Or we could beat Bridge from Below, but still can't beat Hogak. So it was sort of pre-banned, assuming that graveyard decks would still become more powerful. I don't know if they're so powerful anymore. There's like one graveyard-based deck in all of Modern right now. I think that's true, and that is the Goro's Vengeance deck. For the most part, like, graveyard decks are not very strong. It should be legal because it's so vulnerable to the sideboard. You give yourself a 0% chance of winning games 2 and 3 in many matchups. Not to mention, you can interact with this card by just killing your own creatures. That also works. Arian says, whosoever would cross my bridge must answer these questions 3. Why is it banned? What is Hogak? Why is Blazing Shoal spiking at the moment? Oh, maybe... I have no idea, actually. I think the professor made a video suggesting that this could get unbanned. Maybe. Maybe. But other than that, I have no idea. Oh, maybe it combos with Vivi. Maybe people want to combo with Vivi. How many people remember that Bridge was originally a Future Shift card? Oh, you mean Future Sight? Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, it told the future. I wonder if it knew it was going to get banned. I bet it didn't see that coming. You like the OG? Everyone likes the OG art? Okay, we'll bring back the OG art. It really did come from the future. In the future, mana cost doesn't matter. It's worthless. You're going to either play your cards for free or people are going to trigger your cards for free. One day, Magic the Gathering will become Yu-Gi-Oh! I would be hard-pressed to believe that this card is still broken by today's standards. Just endurance alone makes a huge difference to how strong graveyard decks could be. I don't... Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, I just don't see Bridge from Below being the powerhouse that it used to be. What else do we have? It's not just endurance, it's solitude. So if you bring back creatures from the graveyard, you can exile them and they're never coming back. I think we've got the answers. You can cast it to boost Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Well, you could do that. I would not recommend it though. Oh, it's spiking because of VV Final Fantasy. Okay, yeah. People love VV. People speculating on VV. What's going to happen if VV sucks? One day Steam Flogger Boss will be banned in Modern 2. Not very likely. Graveyard decks only, yeah, not as many, but most of the meta uses the graveyard in some way at the moment. Well, I mean, most of the meta uses the graveyard in some way, Boros Energy uses Flage, for example, but they don't use it enough that you want to bring in graveyard hate, because they would just be blank. Versus most of the rest of the deck. Same thing with Prowess. Okay, they have Lava Dart. You can cast Lava Dart from the graveyard. Are you going to bring in graveyard hate for that? No, not really. Whereas you can bring in the hard graveyard hate for a card like this. I would... You know what? And even before Hogak, this card, it came up and went, but it was never a staple. It was just at the right opportune time, Bridge from Low was strong. I would think you can unban this card. I think you can unban this card, and I also think we've got more than enough tools to beat the card anyway. Any of the Evoke Elementals exile Bridge? Oh yeah, that's true, actually. So like just evoke screws it over because you exile it. The evoke on the elemental would get rid of it. That's true, actually. Wow. So I can just throw out subtlety for nothing. I can throw out subtlety for absolutely nothing and gone. Rest in peace, Liz. Dustin Newbie is like, I lost to a grave. I lost to Dredge once, and I'm never losing to Dredge again. Okay, next up, let's look at Chrome Mox. Okay, so here's my pet peeve. They unban Mox Opal, which I actually think is infinitely more powerful than this card, but then this card stays banned. Yeah, I think, okay, so in a world where we unban Mox Opal, I think we can unban Chrome Mox, no lie. Even though I don't like 0 mana cards, but if that's the power level of format that we're looking at, then so be it. I don't like the 0 mana cards that can be played in combo decks, and most of the, like, there's a lot of combo decks that play Mox Opal. There's not a lot of combo decks that play Chrome Mox. If you even look at Legacy, most of the Chrome Mox decks are like fair decks. They're like Mono White Initiative, Mono Red Stompy, or Mono Red Initiative. There are combo decks, don't get me wrong, but it's like more heavily a mid-range card than anything else. Chrome Mox should absolutely be legal. You have to pitch a card to this. Yes, this is, and the pitching of a card is a downside. I even tried this card in Merfolk and Legacy, and like, I can't beat the card disadvantage. I just can't. So if you pitch a card to Chrome Mox, and then this thing gets locked down by Collector Oof, or even just destroyed by artifact removal, you know, for example, Meltdown, then you're super behind. So you really need to recoup that card disadvantage like immediately. So I found this, like, I'm just flabbergasted. What are they doing here? Unban Mox Opal, but Chrome Mox stays banned. I wonder what the price of Chrome Mox would get to if they unbanned it, because it's like $100 already. It's pretty expensive. So if you don't exile a card, does it only tap for colorless? No, if you don't exile a card, it taps for nothing. Absolutely nothing. Zip. Not a squat. Reprint Mox Diamonds, so we can play 12 Mox and well, Mox Diamonds on the reserve list. Oh, Flage kills Bridge too. Probably too late though, because Flage is sorcery speed. Nikachu dyes his hair. He's really 30 years old. You're correct. I do dye my hair. I wouldn't say I'm 30 years old though. Do you have anything else to say about Chrome Mox? Anyway, I think this is a weird, in a world where Mox Opal is legal, and we'll eventually get, we'll not get to that card. That's unbanned. I will say that Chrome Mox also should be legal. I actually think Chrome Mox is infinitely more fair than Mox Opal is, so I'm gonna give this card the unban. Send it back to the clouds with the Chrome Mox. Okay, next, let's look at... By the way, Chrome Mox, I don't even know if they gave Chrome Mox even the time of day. Ooh, Cloud Post. That's an interesting card. It's a land. Comes into play, tap. Tap, add 1 to your mana pool for each Locust in play. You know, a long time ago, I'd have said, yeah, you have to ban this card. There's just not enough answers. Like, we're not a Wasteland format to deal with cards like this. But we do have a new card in the format that every blue deck is playing. And it's Harbinger of the Seas. This is played in almost every blue deck. Almost every single blue deck in Modern. It's become a staple. The Magus of the water has put a huge hurt on, for example, even Tron. We don't actually see Tron anymore. Now it's like Eldrazi. It's just Eldrazi ramp for the most part. Fast mana is crazy scary, but like the traditional Tron deck is nowhere to be seen. I actually think Cloud Post would not pose a threat in today's metagame. If anything, if you want to boost like the big colorless mana decks, you probably have to go the Cloud Post route, because it looks like Tron is just giving up. Excessa still thinks Cloud Post might be too strong. And, you know, make no mistake, like, the Eldrazi decks will try to play it, right? They'll be like Cloud Post, Glimmer, I think it's Glimmer Post. Or what's the other post? I can't remember. The Glimmer Post? The one that gains life? And they'll go all in on the Eldrazi mana. So maybe the Eldrazi decks would push this over the limit. But then if the Eldrazi decks go too hard in colorless, then they can't play the green cards. And if they can't play the green cards, then they're conceding somewhere else. But Tron is so much more flavorful. Well, Tron is dead. Show me Tron. Where's Tron here? Let's look for Tron. Tron, where are you, Tron? Oh, Eldrazi ramp. That's where you used to be. How far do we have to go in the metagame to find Tron here? Tron! Are we gonna put you on the back of a milk carton? Through the breach, miracles. There we go. 0.4% of the metagame. It is in the same meta percentage as Merfolk. That is an embarrassment to Ultron players. So that just goes to show how much colorless mana ramp is hurting right now. You skipped Eldrazi Tron? What did I? Let's go back. How big of a percentage was that? Eldrazi Tron. There's Eldrazi. Oh, here's Eldrazi Tron. Okay, it's like a smidge higher. It's slightly better. Is it even Eldrazi? Oh, it is Tron. Yeah, they got the Tron lands in here. Very, still performing terribly. I actually think we could unban this card. I would have never said that in the past, but since the printing of Harbinger of the Seas changes everything. Especially since, like I said, almost every blue deck plays Harbinger of the Seas, like two copies in the sideboard. It is such a strong card versus like Amulet, the Tron decks, and potentially even Cloud Post. It would be fine if the format was balanced with more ways to push back against non-basics in general. Back to basics, Price of Progress, Modern would be more fun if these cards were available. Well, we do have our tools. We have Damping Sphere and Harbinger of the Seas and Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon. And like, what else? I don't know. There's quite a few other cards. Like, the thing is, before, the only deck that could compete with this big mana was red, because they're the ones with Blood Moon. They're the ones with Magus of the Moon. And they didn't even do that great of a job of it. But it did something. Now, blue has their own Magus. Or is it, we have our own Blood Moon. And it's working. Like, it's also working. So those combined are helping. And I would say, actually, Harbinger of the Seas is the default Blood Moon of Modern now. People don't even play Blood Moon. Ponza was still playable. It could be unbanned. Just go play Ponza. In fact, Green Eldrazi is basically a Ponza deck. The Flood Moon, Harbinger of the Seas, Harbinger of the Waters, Harbinger of the Flood. Winter Moon sort of sucks, to be honest. Winter Moon was terrible. I thought that card looked terrible when they spoiled it, and I still think it's terrible now. Anyway, I think this is not too powerful. I don't think this is too powerful in Modern. You could keep it banned, but I think it's way more balanced thanks to Harbinger of the Seas than it ever has in the past. Dark Depths. Anyone crazy like me want to unban this card? Legendary Snowland. Enters the battlefield with 10 ice counters on it. Pay 3 to remove an ice counter from Dark Depths. When Dark Depths has no ice counters on it, sack it. If you do, create Merit Lage, a legendary 2020 token with flying and indestructible. I actually have no opinion about this card right now. How strongly do we feel about Dark Depths staying banned? It has a simple combo with Thespian Stage. Where you copy it and then you legend rule it away, and then when it gets sacrificed, you get a 2020. Or sorry, you don't legend rule it away, but the copy comes into play with no ice counters. So it immediately goes bye-bye. Today, a 2020 indestructible isn't even that scary with so much exile and bounce. That is very true. Like, we are living in a world with solitude, right? This is not nothing. And this is a very popular, high-played card. Not to mention, like, what's that one white? Okay, no, it has to be instant speed. You have to instant speed deal with this card. There are so many exile effects in Modern, but they have to be instant speed. Can't prismatic ending on the Merit Lage token, not going to work out for you very well. Not well at all. Unban Dark Depths, ban Thespian Stage. Nola with the big brain there. I'd kind of laugh if someone condemned Merit Lage. Thanks for doubling my life total. Wow. I guess so. Well, if you're playing against a Solitude deck, probably they can deal a lot of damage pretty quickly. Merit Lage versus 20 Squirrels. What land synergy do we have? Well, with Dark Depths, you would just tutor this thing out. It would be probably in some sort of mono. Maybe it like would get thrown into an amulet deck. It'd be in some sort of deck that can tutor out lands, and then just go off with this thing. Elvish, yeah, Elvish Reclaimer, crop. Well, there's no crop rotation in Modern, but there is Elvish Reclaimer. But there's also, Expedition Map can go get the pieces if you really need to. Also, what else can get it? That Sowing Miko Spawn basically is our crop rotation, where when you cast it, you search your library for a land, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Very frustrating. So you can go get Dark Depths, or you can get Thespian Stage. So you have to deal with the combo. You also have to deal with the stupid Eldrazi's. So that might actually be the biggest problem. They could maybe assemble a Dark Depths combo deck within the Eldrazi deck, which is already pretty powerful. Merit Lage versus Emrakul. Battle of the Millennia. Epic battle. Merit Lage just needs to have enough permanence in play, and then it wins. Otherwise, Emrakul has to chump block. I think it would be a strong deck, but again, vulnerable enough to Harbinger of the Seas to be unbanned. Well, maybe not necessarily. Like, it might work like that. But there is a downside, though, actually, with this interaction. So let's say, for example, we have Harbinger of the Seas first. So let's say we get Harbinger of the Seas in play. Then when they play Dark Depths, it comes into play with 0 counters on it, because it has no abilities. And then if they kill the Harbinger of the Seas, then Dark Depths trigger immediately. No, God, please, no. So actually there is a downside if they have any answer to your Harbinger of the Seas. Things can get worse. Yeah, Hexmage can work with it too. That's usually, I mean, it works. I have no idea if that's the way to go about it by today's standards. It used to be that used to be the way to do it. Black doesn't have the same land finding synergy, though. Yeah, so I would imagine it's still a pretty green-heavy deck. Imagine chump blocking with Emrakul Star. Yeah. You might be wondering how I got here. There's a green dragon that grabs lands when it dies. That could be good, too. Solemnity does the no counters instant spaghetti monster trick, too. Oh, yeah, Solemnity would also work. Yep. Oh yeah, Ottawa exists. Yeah, okay. So actually, so now you think about it, so there's a lot of cards that actually can beat Merit Lage now. So we have like how many cards? We have Ottawara. We have like Sink into Stupor. We've got Solitude. How many other answers do we have? Like good, solid, instant speed answers. I mean, maybe Dress Down. Dress Down can work. Like Dress Down plus removal spell of some sort, like Dress Down and Fatal Push. That could work. Also, you can chump block the damn thing. Well, Unsummon and Boomerang, they're illegal, but no one plays those cards because they're pretty crappy. This card also loses to Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, again, like those cards, those work, but not a lot of people play with Ensnaring Bridge. I'm just thinking of like pretty common cards people play. Yeah, I would say there's a good, I don't know about for the other colors. Between blue and white, they've got the answers. For green, I guess they can chump block with Endurance now. Oh, Shieldred's Edict? Yeah, actually, because of Shieldred's Edict, there's a few more Edicts being played than usual. That's true. No, remember, Ratchet Bomb doesn't work because it's indestructible. An indestructible avatar. So anyway, Dark Depths, it's hard, it's tough to tell. Is it too powerful? It's probably, I would lean that it's probably too powerful. Would be very interesting to see what it does when it gets unbanned. I heard I heard in No Ban Modern that this is one of the top decks. At least it has been historically. I don't know what it would be like right now. No Ban Modern probably is getting infested with Nadu at this point. Murd has flying, so green needs to have reach. Yes, and endurance has reach. Reach for the skies. Aaron says, can't find an instant that removes all counters from a permanent. I'll call that combo instant noodles. Yeah, Indestructible Avatar will take on a new meeting in MTG soon. Yeah, it will. It's true. Isn't Sylvan Safekeeper in Modern too now? Yeah, it is. Sylvan Safekeeper is definitely in Modern. Okay. Great discussion about Dark Depths. Ooh, Deathrite Shaman. I don't think this card should get unbanned. At the same time, it probably is the next card to get unbanned. They're gonna try it. This card was heavily speculated on. Like the price of Deathrite Shaman skyrocketed before the last BNR announcement. It is a 1-mana 1/2 Elf Shaman. That is super relevant. All the other mana dorks are dead. They don't exist. Basically because 1 toughness creatures just can't survive in Modern anymore. They just die to Lava Dart, Ren Insects, Orcish Bowmasters. The environment is just so hostile to 1 toughness creatures. This is one of the few clean mana dorks with 2 toughness. Tap, exile target land card from a graveyard to add 1 mana of any color. By the way, black and green decks can play this. And why is it black? What the hell is this? That doesn't make any damn sense. Why? Because elves are Golgari? And then for a black, but it's a Swiss Army knife. For a black, exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. And pay a green, tap, exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain 2 life. I will say this. I would be interested to see what the hell this card would do in Modern. All these abilities are so outrageously relevant. For a green, we could start exiling Flage for crying out loud. Like, that would be fantastic. So we can start exiling Flage and gaining some life out of it at the same time. It would also just slow down Flage in general by eating up their graveyard. I think, by the way, I think cards like Uro and Flage cost way too few cards to escape them from the graveyard. I think that was a crime in itself. It should have, those escape costs should have been way higher. No, because it's a Dev Karin elf of the Golgari Swarm. I still don't get. They could. Then they should have just got the elf from a different elf factory. It's black because skulls or something. Well, there is a skull in front of it. It's levitating. It's creepy. Very, very creepy. Not sure what deck plays this at the moment. All of them. Beanpot, any deck, almost any deck playing green and almost any deck playing black will play it. Believe me. Yeah, there'll be you know, it's the same thing as Flage too. When Flage was revealed, when it was spoiled, people were like, no one will play this card because it's got no deck right now. It has nowhere to go. And I was just like, people will build it. You know, if you print it, they will build it. And the same thing was with Deathrite Shaman. They'll just build the thing. Exile Dark Depths with this bad boy. That's not how this works. I mean, you can exile from the graveyard, but the 2020 is in play. The format would instantly become more creative. Folks would try all kinds of new Deathrite Shaman decks. So the downside to Deathrite Shaman is eventually people find the best Deathrite Shaman deck, and then it's miserable to play against. It is a very strong card. It is outrageously powerful. But you know what's an interesting thing? We have more graveyard hate than we did in the past. Like, let's say, for example, we have Soul Cauldron in play. If you try to exile a card to activate your Deathrite Shaman, I'll just activate my Cauldron in response and get value. Or sorry, not get value. I'll prevent you from getting value, so there could be a bit of a standstill there. Deathrite Shaman is even somewhat vintage playable. I was playing it in vintage just a few years ago. Yeah. It's Pioneer legal and sees no play there. No fetches, though. Well, the fetch, that's what fuels Deathrite Shaman. I bet Deathrite Shaman is actually a bit underplayed in Pioneer, because there's actually a lot of graveyard decks. A ton! There's so many graveyard decks. You know, like, it'll get fueled up easily, even by, what's it called? like Phoenix. But yeah, the fact that there's no fetch lands, or very few fetch lands, I should say, make Deathrite Shaman way more fair there. But with fetch lands in Modern, you can easily go turn 1 fetch, turn 2, play a 3-drop, and go about your business. Mid-range is... I wouldn't say mid-range is killed in Modern, but the old classic ramp into a mid-range card is effectively very close to dead in Modern. The only mana dork we have is... what is it called? Delighted Halfling. But anyway, Delighted Halfling doesn't tap for colored mana unless it's a legendary card, which sucks. That's because Pioneer has no fetches. Yeah. Wait. You don't say. Houston says, I love how the 2020 was okay because there is removal for it, but Deathrite Shaman is still too strong. Well, hey, I didn't say the 2020 was definitely okay. It's dubious. It's dubious. Deathrite Shaman also dubious. But I would be curious to see what it would do for Modern. I'd be very curious, especially since there's so many decks using the graveyard that are sort of a pain. And I would like the format to slow down a little bit more. There's only like 2 super fast aggro decks at the moment, the energy deck and the prowess deck, but they need to slow down. We need to slow these decks down. Dies to shock, and here's the deal: there's no shock in Modern. Well, no one plays it anyhow. We need something to help bring Jund back. Oh, it's back already. You know, I was always thinking Boros Energy is Jund. Like, isn't it? Like, what was Jund back in the day? It was all the most singularly powerful cards by themselves. And I'll admit, like, there's some synergy to the energy deck because of the energy mechanic, but outside of that, it's just all the singular most powerful cards. It's just that like Modern works at such a low mana value, like at such a low curve, that the most powerful cards are just cheaper than it was in the past. Before, the most powerful cards were like Liliana and Tarmogoyf and Bloodbraid Elf, and now the most powerful cards are like Flage, which is 3 mana, and the mana cost is just lower. Black can't have a fixer like that? You would think. And it did get banned both in Modern and Legacy. I mean, it generally is played in green decks. You know, if you're playing Deathrite Shaman, you're usually playing green. Okay, unbanned, but only elves can play it. What a weird rule 0. Okay, we're unbanning Deathrite Shaman, but only elves can play it. And it's not even good in elves. Everything dies to something. We just remove emblems. It's a very strange solution. It's even better than a Planeswalker. And who knows, maybe we have so much removal now, Deathrite Shaman just won't do the thing that it used to do. Anyway, it was highly speculated that this card would get unbanned, and I have a feeling if people are... I get the sense Wizards R&D is getting a feel for the crowd, and if everyone wants Deathrite Shaman to be unbanned, they're going to unban it. They're just going to make Modern whatever it looked like back in 2015 with Mox Opal and Faithless Looting and all those good cards. I would be for having a more flexible ban list. Unban Deathrite Shaman, and you know what? If it's too strong, just reban the damn thing. Let people have some fun for a little while. And I'm just curious to know what it would do. Okay, that's it for today. We'll say we can temporarily unban this card. And if it's too strong, reban the damn thing. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for being here, part of the discussion. We do the show 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. If you're a patron on Patreon, a member on YouTube, or you Super Chat to be part of the show, or even Super Chat so other people are part of the show. And thank you so much, Coffee Crew, for your discussion. People like Nola, Yeezus, Pabno, Bubble Tea Addict, Trip Fontaine, Steve Cooper, Little Deadfly, Christopher B. We got Nightmare Incarnation, Matthew Green, Ken Kusha, William, and more. So as usual, my coffee crew, keep brewing those coffees, and we're going to keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.